Hello and welcome to another Neuroscience Now. I'm Graham Smith and I'm a solution-focused hypnotherapist. And today I'd like to start by asking you a simple question. When was the last time you felt stressed? Maybe it was waiting to give a speech, opening an unexpected bill, or dealing with a sudden crisis. Your heart pounds, your mouth goes dry, your breath quickens, your stomach flips with butterflies and your hands shake. All sound familiar? That's stress in action, and for most of us, it's not a rare visitor. It's part of our daily life. But here's the twist. Stress isn't always bad. It turns out there are two kinds of stress. The Hungarian-born scientist Hans Selye made an important distinction: eustress and distress. And eustress is the positive kind. It's that buzz you feel when you're excited, motivated, or rising to a challenge. Whereas distress is the negative kind, the one that creates that sick feeling in your stomach when you're overwhelmed, panicked or paralysed. And here's the fascinating part. The very same situation that can be eustress for one person is distress for another. For example, delivering a best man speech might be a dream for someone who loves the spotlight, but for another, it's their worst nightmare. So, stress isn't just about what happens to us. It's also about how we respond. Over a century ago, psychologists Robert Yerkes and John Dodson discovered something we now call the Yerkes-Dodson law. It shows that each of us has an optimal level of arousal. Too little, and we're bored, sluggish, unmotivated. Too much, and we're anxious, overwhelmed, and unable to function. So think about an exam or a big match. Some people thrive under the ticking clock, while others crumble. The difference lies in where that sweet spot of optimal stress lies for each of us. So now, let's take a look at fast stress and slow stress. When we face a challenge, our brain has two major pathways for dealing with it. The first is the fast pathway, the fight or flight response. The hypothalamus in the brain sends a signal to the adrenal glands which release adrenaline into the bloodstream. And within seconds, your heart rate spikes, your muscles tense, and energy floods your system. You're primed to act. The second is the slow pathway, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal system, or HPA axis. This one takes a little longer but lasts longer too. It releases cortisol, often called the stress hormone, and cortisol helps regulate glucose, blood pressure, immune function, even memory. It's the body's way of adapting to ongoing challenges. Both systems are vital. One saves you from the oncoming car, the other helps you endure a tough few months at work or cope with grief. Now, let's talk about cortisol. It gets a bad rep as the stress hormone, but that's only part of the story. Cortisol is also what gets you out of bed in the morning. It fuels your energy, helps regulate metabolism, supports memory, even strengthens the immune system. But here's the catch. Too much cortisol for too long is toxic. Chronic stress keeps the body in a state of high alert. Instead of helping us adapt, cortisol begins to wear us down. Prolonged high levels of cortisol are linked with weight gain, diabetes, heart disease, depression, fertility issues, and even dementia. It weakens the immune system, leaving us vulnerable to infections. It even affects the brain, damaging the hippocampus, the very area that regulates cortisol and helps us form memories. So, in a cruel irony, stress can destroy the very system designed to keep it under control. Now, the impact of stress is profound at every stage of life. During pregnancy, high levels of maternal stress can increase the risk of emotional or cognitive difficulties for the child. In childhood, chronic stress, especially from neglect or abuse, can disrupt brain development and memory, with effects that may last into adulthood. And later in life, the consequences continue. People under chronic stress age faster, both mentally and physically. But here's a hopeful part. Small bursts of cortisol in healthy doses are actually helpful. They can strengthen memory, sharpen performance, and keep us resilient. The real danger lies in staying in a constant red alert mode without giving the body time to rest and recover. Think of it as a seesaw of stress. As mentioned earlier, our nervous system has two branches: the sympathetic branch, which fuels fight or flight, and the parasympathetic branch, which supports rest and digest. Only one can dominate the seesaw at any one time. And the trick to living well is not to eliminate stress, but to find a way to balance it, to allow that seesaw to swing back towards recovery instead of leaving it stuck in overdrive. So, how do we bring ourselves back into balance? For some, it might be exercise, literally burning off the energy your body has mobilized. For others, it could be yoga or meditation, or like me, a quiet walk in nature. Spending times with friends if you're a social animal, laughing, listening to music, reframing how we see a challenge. All of these lower stress hormone levels and help the body reset. But it's important to remember that what works for one person may not work for you. So when it comes to resetting, I visualise it much like spaghetti. Throw it at the wall, see what sticks, whatever does, repeat it. And let's not forget about sleep. Sleep is one of the most powerful stress regulators we have. It consolidates memories, clears toxins from the brain and restores balance. Poor sleep, on the other hand, makes stress worse and chips away at mental and physical health. Good habits, regular routines, dimming screens before bed, exercising regularly and reducing caffeine or alcohol can make a huge difference. I discussed this a lot in one of my earlier Neuroscience Now videos from a few weeks ago, which was all about sleep. So, in conclusion, let's circle back to that moment of stress. The racing heart, the butterflies in the stomach, the trembling hands. These are not signs of weakness. They're signs of a body finely tuned to meet a challenge. Stress can harm us, yes. But it can also drive us, protect us, and help us grow. The goal is to not live without stress, but to live with it, wisely, consciously, and with balance. So, when we find ways to manage our stress, master even, we unlock one of the most powerful tools our brain possesses. Thanks for listening. So until next time, stay curious.